Hello, everybody. It's Zash of Zash and Zone again. Uh, I've been avoiding this talk on Obamacare because I didn't think people really wanted my opinion. But I actually had somebody ask me about it late last week, and I decided I'd throw together a little something today. Uh, so let's just take it by what I've grabbed to talk about here. First things first, Obamacare, repeal in jeopardy, and it's not just because of Democrats. Well, it is because of Democrats in a real big way because there's some of them that should be willing to reach across the aisle and work because they are keeping a lot of things the Democrats want. Uh, and they know that Obamacare is going to implode itself over the next year or two if they don't do anything. But we're going to get zero votes from the Democrats because the Democrats are holding together as a bloc to be obstructionists. Let's go to my next little screen here. Paul Ryan predicts GOP health care plan will fail. And at the time he said this, it was before we started actually seeing them try to work out some deals. Right now, I don't think there's a deal anywhere in sight that will get passed yet. I do believe that this is going to be kicked back and forth for a lot longer than anybody wants. I don't think we're going to see a plan go through in the next month or two. I believe it's going to take anywhere from 6 months to a year. I think some other things are going to happen in the meantime because you have like Paul Ryan listed right here. You got Ted Cruz. You got the whole Freedom Caucus. It's just a lot of hard right Republicans and the establishment Republicans knowing that they've got a whole lot of power because the Democrats aren't going to step up and cross over to reduce their hold on the situation. As always, Trump is fighting the Democrats and half the Republican Party, or let me put it this way, half the elected officials to try and get anything done. So they handed out the book Art of the Deal to a bunch of the congressmen. Well, that's what Donald's going to be working. He's going to have to be working the deal to get this through. Then we have this that's come out from the Congressional Budget Office that 24 million would lose health care by 2026 under GOP's Obamacare replacement, the new estimate says. Well, we can say 24 million under the new plan, or we can say everybody under the old plan when the health insurance industry completely implodes under Obamacare. Now, will that mean everybody loses health insurance? No. Of course, the filthy rich will still keep their health insurance because, well, they're filthy rich and they can afford it. But it will mean that the reduction in medical bankruptcies that we've seen over the last few years, which have been because people were forced to buy health insurance they didn't think they needed, will probably start going back up some. And yes, we're going to have those bankruptcies because people will refuse to buy health insurance that they think they don't need. And employers that are small enough will keep refusing to buy insurance for their employees because they're not required to. And they don't feel a need. This has always been a problem with our health system. The very poor are covered under Medicaid, and they have lots of health insurance through the government. Then you have the band in the middle, and then there are those in the middle that are earning too much to get Medicaid. They're working for employers that keep them down in part-time brackets where they don't have to be insured, and or they're working for employers that are so small and have such tight overheads that they really can't afford to have insurance. I feel for these people. I know by the grace of God, I've had jobs that have kept me insured for most of my life. And by most of my life, I'm meaning there's only been months that I was not insured because I moved from the military to a job, to a job, to a job. And it would be the couple months starting up a new job where you don't, under the previous system before Obamacare, you had that 90 days you weren't covered in insurance. And that still is true with a lot of places. If you haven't been there your 90 days, you can't get your insurance yet. So you have that short period when you change from job to job that you don't have insurance. So that gap's going to come back. And I feel for those people. But right now the system's about to implode itself. And we've got to do something. All right. I did just some quick math here. Before Obamacare, healthcare companies put approximately 50% of their cash into actual healthcare, and the rest of it went to other things. So I've put myself a little chart up here, and the top line is what it was before health insurance. Now I used just a number of 100 because it was a nice round number. Most people's insurance were not $100. It was a month. It was something else, and that something else was whatever it was. But this 100, think of it as 100% before, which was 50% for healthcare, 10% for overhead, 20% for internal bonuses, which was your middle management, upper management, and the senior managers, that CEOs getting their billion-dollar bonuses, multi-million-dollar bonuses, these numbers that, more money on a bonus than I'll ever earn in my life. And then 20% for the shareholders, and I used just a number I pulled out of the air, $1 a share that it was paying to shareholders. Okay, a nice rate that it was paying, $1 a month on their share. Well, after ACA, the Affordable Health Care Act, went through, that same 100 is going to be 80% for healthcare because it was mandated by ACA that they put 80% of their money that they collect in healthcare. Still that 10% for overhead, because the overhead's still the same at that point. They had to cut into their internal bonuses and they had to cut into their shareholders. All right. And I just pulled numbers for an example here of down to 5% for internal bonuses, which means middle management probably got just cut out. They didn't get any more bonuses. Upper management got really small bonuses. And those people at the very top, their bonuses probably didn't get touched. Why? Because that's the way the corporations work. Shareholders, all of a sudden those shares were only earning 25 cents a share on that same $100. So look what has to happen to get, and that one at the end is really important, that shareholders bonus. To get that back to $1 a share, we need to get all the way up to $400 for that same $100 cost. which means 360 for healthcare, 15 for overhead now because of Affordable Care Act added a whole bunch of paperwork and regulations to the system that had to be accounted for. Then the internal bonuses, they're going to give themselves some money so they can spread the cash around inside the company some. That went back to the up to about 10. That $20 that was needed for those dollar a month payouts, look at there. So you had to go from $100 to $400 a month on cost. And that's what all these super rate hikes are trying to do. They're trying to take that 100% and get it to 400% so that they can get back to that dollar a share, because these companies are owned by shareholders. And if the shareholders aren't getting paid what they think they should get paid, the companies will lose shareholders. And as they lose shareholders, they lose value because the shareholders are selling. Nobody's ever really brought up this point, what it means to tell a company that, oh, you had 50% of your money going into the product, and now we're going to make you put 80% into that product. It means that to keep your shareholders happy, you have to raise the cost of that product to a point where your shareholders stay happy. Just another thing I figured I'd point out in this discussion part. Now we're going to go to my final thoughts. Obamacare was going to implode. The healthcare industry before Obamacare was on its way to imploding. Well, I shouldn't say imploding. I should say exploding, because it's like a bubble. The healthcare industry, just like the housing industry, has been on an upward curve for so long and cannot comprehend the idea that there will be a correction. So when Obamacare did its changes to the system, it accelerated the curve up on cost. It wasn't supposed to, because all these youngsters were supposed to come into the system and help spread the cost. Well, the youngsters looked at it and said, no, we're not gonna, as fast as these costs are going up, we're not gonna do it. And as a single person, I can afford to pay the penalty at the end of the year. Well, the penalty put all the money in the government's pocket instead of the corporation's pocket. So the corporation said, well, we're not getting the money we need from where the government told us we'd get it. So we're going to get it out of the people that are left, that are on the system, and they're going to pay. And they're going to pay hard until we get our profits where we think they need to be, because they are a publicly owned company that relies on paying profits to their shareholders. Nothing was done in the Affordable Care Act to hold costs in check. It was all about the regulations, putting more people into the system so there would be more money, which theoretically would make it so that other things would cost less. It doesn't work that way. When there's more money available, people raise their prices to get more of the pie for themselves. When there is something available, people will hoard it for themselves, for their profit. The bubble is about to burst. Trumpcare, all I believe it's going to do at best is slow down the expansion. It's going to take a lot more work from the Congress to start letting some of the air out of that bubble and reel it in somehow. Now, how they're going to do that, I don't know. I wish I did. I thought when Obamacare passed, when it did, that maybe they would start working on doing the repairs right after that. But the Republicans just were no, 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 repeal, repeal, repeal. And they honestly thought when they won the vote this year that they would be able to repeal and never replace. Just let the system find its own way back to balance. Well, all that would mean is we're back to the problem of the system was going to cut its own throat. The system was going to cut its own throat despite itself. Now, I feel for all these people that don't have insurance. It would be devastating for me to lose my job and not have health insurance. That's why I go to work. I do my job. I try to do it well so that they keep me. I try to make myself worth something to my job, to my employer, so that he has a desire to keep me. And most employees work for their employers with that in mind when they have good benefits and they work for a good company. The government, I honestly thought when Obamacare passed that they would start modifying it long before now to try and balance out the problems that were in Obamacare. The Republicans sat on their hands and screamed no for so long, and now they've got to deal with the Democrats doing the same thing. Well, that's one of those cases of good for the goose, good for the gander. It should have been long ago reaching across the damn aisle and finding solutions. But our United States government would rather fight at that level than take care of the citizens that voted them to go there and represent us. This video went pretty long, folks. I'm going to cut it off right there. Like I said, I didn't want to dig too deep into this. I just wanted to put some of my thoughts out there. God bless you. Thank you for sticking around. And y'all have a good night. Thank you for watching my video. Like, favorite, and subscribe. Down below you'll see a link for PayPal where I can get some better equipment to do this a little bit better, be more a little efficient. And to the sides over here you'll see a couple videos. If you're interested in watching them, I'd be appreciative of you looking at them. Have a good night.